And we are live. Welcome to another episode of the Brad and Kyle podcast. How we doing out there? Before we get into it, I want to say special thanks to all of our sponsors, Storm Nation. Go get you a Storm bowling ball if you haven't done one. H5G, bowlerdepot.com, and Turbo Grips. We appreciate all you guys for your support. We have a special, fun episode for you today. We have someone on that has done things that Kyle and I only dream of doing. I mean, this is what dreams are made of, and hopefully we can figure out how to get that done. So, how you doing, Kyle?
I'm doing good. Just looking forward to talking to this long overdue guest on the podcast.
Yeah, I think our audience got a little bit of a sneak peek of him during Detroit this year. What was that? World Series of Bowling. Did we room with him another stop too?
No, I think it was just the World Series.
Just the World Series. Okay. Yeah. So let's have him hop in here. Everyone, welcome Mr. Deeron Booker.
What's
going
up?
on?
Hey guys, how are you? How's everything going post national tour?
Little lost.
Little lost. You guys can't be lost, Brad. I've been literally watching the individual results for everybody every single day, all day at work.
So, did you just get back?
Because I'm telling you, bro, I know the feeling. Luckily, I only have to wait 45 hours. You have to wait 45 days. So it's
wait. When you won, you took it over one of the last days.
The very last weekend, we were like 2 more squads and 3 more squads to go. Yeah.
Oh, and who did you beat?
Oh man, What's up?
Who did you beat? Who was in first place before you took it over?
You know what? To be honest with you, I had no idea because Nationals has always been the worst tournament that I bowl every year. I just can never seem to get to 2,000, can barely get to 1,900. And so when we got to a point where we had a chance to win, I thought the number was 40 pins higher than what it was because I don't really score watch. And all of a sudden I'm looking and the guys come down with the cameras and people are starting to come down and watch and congregate. And they're like, they have a chance to take over the lead. And so I get the first hit in the 10th frame, and then they're like, they got the lead. Now it's just how far ahead they're going to get. And so by the time it was all done and the dust settled, I was all, oh, we won by a lot, So that's kind of what happened. And I don't know who it was. I do apologize to them because, it's so tough. You're thinking like, I got this. And then the last weekend comes and they're like, I'm sorry. And for me, it would have been the same thing because I think there was only 2 more double squads after that. So I was like, somebody can do it. And, thankfully it happened. And yeah, I can't wait, Brad. I'm just, like I said, I'm counting down the days for you.
Man, well, I'm trying not to think too much about it. I'm trying not to, because of people like you. They come in one of the last couple days and they just beat it. And I feel like it's out there. Didn't you just bowl?
Yeah, bro. So I got to 2169 with 10 open frames. Think about that.
Oh, wow.
10 opens. And when I was going for singles, I was going 79. I 7-9 the last shot for 77. And then I was going 79 again, and I 7-10 and went 230. And then I'm sitting here talking all this mess, and I go front 8, 210 sheet. So I was like, I think my heart goes out to you. So that's why I 210 at the last minute. But I would have just barely missed you. I would have got to 812 if that 210 didn't happen. So I got to 776, but I was still happy that I have 2 good years of nationals in a row. Like I'm ecstatic about that. That means I'm turning into what they call. I saw JJ. He's like, you're Mr. USBC, because you win an Eagle, you win the Masters, and then you're in the top 15 in 2 events back to back years. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm just trying to figure it out. That's all we do when we sit here and we're bowling. We're trying to figure out what works for us and what we're able to do for our games and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I never thought I'd be at a chance at an Eagle. It's just not something you really think about. It's really crapshooty. It's a quick few games, and it's intense, dude. Bowling Nationals is, in a lot of ways, more intense than like a PBA tournament because there's such a tight window. You have a lot of money up for grabs and brackets.
Oh, Yes, tell me about it.
There's like all there. If at South Point, there's always this really long walk. There's just a lot going on that I find nationals to be tough. I'm in the same boat. I've never really had a great nationals until this year.
I know. Can't wait. I'm like I said, it's once you have a good year, it just seems like the years just kind of follow suit. You start doing roughly around the same thing you did the year before, maybe just throwing different balls, playing a slightly different zone. But I've noticed that for the last 2 years, nationals has been like I was 2 zones left of where I was last year. So if that makes any sense or helps anybody where they're almost done, or if they're bowling, they're like, well, where's Deeron playing? And I was like, well, in 2023, I never got left 20 in singles and doubles. And then in 2024, I was sliding 40. So that's kind of how nationals goes. And it was roughly same ball. I threw an IQ Tour last year, threw an Ion Pro this year. So it's kind of roughly the same, through urethane to start like they do every year. That's kind of, that's how nationals has been seeing for myself, so.
That's wild that you get so far left. I don't think me and Brad got left of 16 at the Arrows in our singles and doubles set.
See,
maybe 17.
What I'm talking about. It's just what works for everybody. I tried, and I've never been an advocate of urethane. I'm trying to get better because the national tour is urethane. But the whole point about nationals is, like Brad said, you're putting up a lot of money, and you want to do well. And because you only get 3 games, and essentially, to be honest with you, you get about 8 frames a game to bowl well, because the 10th frame is never guaranteed. And the first frame, you're always sometimes fishing to make sure it's good. So you give yourself about 8 frames to figure it out and try to throw a 6-bagger or a 7-bagger. And then you'll be, you're good from there. So,
yeah. Is there a different mindset you guys think in like the nationals when you have all that? Because you're basically just bowling 3-game sets the whole time.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
You want to win an eagle. That's all great. Like you want to do well in the event, but you're probably, your main thought, if not tied for that eagle, is the bracket money. So, in a normal tournament, maybe you're willing to make that ball change in like the 6th frame to where, maybe you're controlling the pocket, but it's not carrying well. Like, do you think that goes into the decision process a little bit? Like, maybe you're more willing to stay in the pocket because you don't want to risk risk going to a ball that's awful and ruining your bracket set and losing all that money. Like, does that go into the decision making there?
Oh, 100%. 100%. It really does. And what we try to do is we try to play it. I'm not going to say you try to play it safe, because typically at nationals, you have a 210 or 220 every game. You're going to do pretty well in brackets depending on the field. When I bowled, my field had Liz Johnson in it, and it had a couple of other players. And so my goal was to keep up with Liz. And especially when the shot is, kind of keeping in front of you a little bit right, Liz is going to do well. Regardless of, she is going to do well. And so we were directly across from each other, meaning I was on like 41, 42, and she was like in the, 17, 18. So never really got a chance to see what it was that she was doing. But again, you have that same mindset. You're like, get 9, go 9 spare, and try to throw a turkey, go 9 spare, try to throw another double, another turkey, try to get them all in the 10th frame. And that's kind of what my mindset is. And for a lot of us, doing well at nationals takes care of the national tour. So you have a little bit of added pressure of like, if I really do well in this tournament, I can kind of set myself up for the next year of bowling on the national tour, or, bowling in general, because for, like myself, when I'm out there bowling takes care of bowling. So the better I bowl, the more I can bowl, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, it's the mindset's a little bit different, but I'm just trying to hit 50 years of participation, so I can't miss until I die. So that's kind of been my thing as well. I'm at 10 consecutive years, and I'm 33, so 73.
You got you got a ways to go.
Yep, I got a ways to go.
No, it's awesome. Well, let's talk about a little bit about your most recent accomplishment. Not only Absolutely. Are you now a PBA champion, but you are a PBA major champion. Winning one of the most probably a unique tournament and one of the most prestigious out there in the USBC Masters this last year. Just kind of ran through the field. You have to if you want to win that tournament. But take us through. Let's start off with you that winning moment that you had on TV. which is just a cool moment when I believe you had to pick a spare. I think it was it a 9-pin?
9-pin.
9-pin. And once you picked that, it was pretty much over. Maybe you had to get a couple pins. But at that point, the win is starting to sit in. I remember you actually looked at someone, and I feel like you looked at someone and they told you, hey, just stay in your process for one more shot. But explain that feeling, that just is that overwhelming feeling of like, oh my God, like this just happened.
You know, and like I said, I've known you guys for a long time, and it got really frustrating at the beginning of the year where I was missing PGQ cuts by a mark, and I just wasn't able to go out there and bowl the way that I wanted to. And so after the third event, I took a break, and I gave myself 6 weeks of contemplating, do you still want to do this? Do you still want to make this happen? Do you still want to try to chase it? And I already knew when you're signing these deals with these companies, you got to bowl. And so I told myself, just go back home, lick your wounds, and go back out there and finish off the rest of the tour. Starting off with the Masters. And I went out there, bowled the best I could, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But that winning moment and being able to shoot at a 9-pin, which is a lot easier to shoot at a 10-pin, especially when you're trying to win, and thinking to myself, I don't have to bowl PGQs again, and I can actually give myself a chance of being a PBA Hall of Famer, for more titles, more chances. That's the only thing that went through my mind at that point. It wasn't the money. It wasn't the history being made. It was the fact that I was still able to go out this upcoming year and bowl every event and give myself every chance. I've never bowled the U.S. Open, you guys, never bowled it. And so this is the first year I'll be able to bowl the U.S. Open and all the tournaments that follow. So that was really what was going on in my head. It was, all right, now it's time for you to take the next step in your career. It's your time to keep on going and to keep on doing great things. That's what went through my head when I picked up that 9-pin. And I looked over to, you guys know Josh Tajiri because he does ball reviews and stuff.
Yeah.
I looked over to him and he just kind of gave me like this fist pump, and he was with Tim Mack. I think Rob was over there, Jim Callahan, and they're like, you did it. And that's why I kind of looked over and I smiled at him. And then I threw the shot and wanted to end on a strike. But listen, if you only need 2 pins, just
yeah.
don't let you stay behind the foul line.
Yeah, that's all. Did that go into your mind at all? You're like, all right, just don't get 0 here. Just stay behind the line.
Exactly. And like I said, it was always still trusting the process through every single shot that we throw every time. It doesn't matter if we need 1 pin, we don't need any pins. You still go through the same process. And my thing was, like I said, stay behind the foul line. And I just threw the ball. And at that moment, once I let it go, I was like, you get that free, overwhelming feeling. And I just was so overwhelmed because the goal of being able to go out and bowl as a national tour player existed in that moment. It was there in that moment. And I was so excited and I was so happy. I was glad that, my friends and family were able to see that. My dad was in the audience, and he's always talked about me watching bowling back when I was younger. If you ever make a show, I'm going to go to your first show. And sure enough, he flew from Georgia that night to make it to the show. And luckily, he was able to sit through the whole show and then watch me bowl and then be able to win. So moments like that were so special because, we're not going to be here forever. And for your parents to be able to see you, in person, live in action, win a major tournament and make history, it just made it even all that better.
Yeah. And so take us through, do you remember all your matches?
Oh, who wouldn't? I had the toughest matchup or the toughest bracket I think I've ever seen in the history of the match.
That's why I love this tournament so much is you remember the whole thing.
You remember the whole thing. And so basically I qualified 58th, and qualifying 58th is it's close because they take 64. So I'm only 4 spots in. And then I go, and I will tell you guys, I did not look at the bracket tape, the bracket match or whatever they have up there. I didn't look at it at all. So I had no idea who I was bowling. I just knew, all right, I've made the cut in this tournament one time before. Let's do it. Let's go out there and bowl. And the first person I bowl against is Gio. And that's Daria's boyfriend. And I'm like, he's not a bad bowler by any means. He works with a company that sponsors us, and he knows reactions, and he always throws it so good. And I was like, all right, let's go. Well, the backstory to that is I lost all of my interchangeable thumbs. The box, the little pack that I have with all of them in there, couldn't find it. And they were like, well, what are you going to do? And Josh ran out to his car to grab a thumb, and he was going to run in the pro shop to make me another one. Daria runs back to the paddock, and Gio was practicing, and there's 3 minutes to go in practice, and I have not thrown a single shot in practice because I have 0 thumbs. Like, my spare ball doesn't even have a thumb in it. So I'm not getting any shots, any reps. Everybody's freaking out. Hank comes down, Tim comes down, and they're like, why aren't you bowling? And I was like, I have no thumb. And they're like, well, what are we going to do? And I'm like, we're trying to figure that out. And they're like, you realize you only got 3 minutes of practice left. And so everybody, all the reps, Daria included, everyone is just like searching through. They're freaking out. And I'm like, I'm not going to freak out because I might have to just throw a house ball until we find them. Like I was going to figure something out. And I happened to just move my bag completely over, and it slid underneath my 3-ball roller to where nobody could find it, and I couldn't find it. And with about 3 or 4 shots of practice to go, I was able to get some shots and to get loose. And so everybody was, whoa, like, what are you going to, I said, I'm just going to keep throwing shots. And as you guys know, I'm very good at starting to strike without any practice. It's kind of hilarious. It's kind of a little superpower that I have, I guess. Kyle was able to see that firsthand. It was, pretty funny.
Multiple times.
He's seen it twice, actually.
Yeah, twice. I was like,
twice. He's seen it twice.
I was going to mention that. The fact that Deeron has no practice, like, we're building it up like it's a big thing, but it's really not a big thing at all, just for you.
For me.
For us mere mortals, it's a big deal, but for you, no problem.
Yeah. And so I bowl against Gio, and I win that match, and I'm like, okay. And it was a tight match, but trying to get the adrenaline down from thinking that you're not even going to be able to bowl because you don't have what you need was tough. And then we go to Simo, and everybody knows Simo, top 3 player in the world, one of the best, can do literally anything. And I'm like, all right, got to bowl against him. And the pattern was tough. Bowling on the burn, and depending on how the group broke it down before us, it was tough. And I just said, I got to keep up with him and do what I did. And towards the very end of the match, I got a really, really lucky break where I went high and a pin rolled over and took out the 6-10 late. And then at that point, Simon was like, oh, well, I'm out. And it was he did some kind of gesture online, and everybody thought that was towards me, but it wasn't towards me. That was a whole other thing from another time. And then I believe that was it. I think the very first day, you only bowl 2 matches.
Yeah,
and
you win both. If you win both. Yeah.
You win both, yeah. You win both, and you're good. So I was like, all right, this is good. This is the first I've ever been, because the last time I went lose-lose. So it's the first I've ever been. I'm great. And then we go back the next day, and I am bowling against Jake Peters. And again, Jake Peters, another phenomenal player, Team USA, been on a national tour for over 10 years. Has a lot of
he's been on a tear the last 2.5 years, 3 years.
Yeah, exactly. And especially when
bowling.
Yeah, 100%. And so with him being able to throw urethane, I mean, I don't really know very many people that can throw urethane as good as he can, especially kind of tricking it up the lane and slow hooking it. I mean, he's just really good at it. So I'm bowling him, and I'm like, all right, let's give it a battle. And made it through that one. And again, it's just always so hard for me to kind of get myself going in the morning, especially for the first matches. So luckily I got past him, and he's like, all right, keep on going, man. And I looked, and I was all, the guy who's been the player of the year on the PBA tour for the last 2 years, this is who I get to bowl against now, who is bowling against the reigning person who was leading the tour for the last 10 years. So it's EJ versus Belmo as I'm bowling Jake, and I got to bowl one of them. It was either Belmo or EJ. And I'm like, gee whiz. I was like, all right, it's a lose-lose situation at that point. You're like, well, I have to be better than great at this point. Like, it's taking, I mean, my thought process was, you have to be focused. You have to be on your game, because EJ will throw 8 or 9 in a row at you every single game. Am I wrong? I'm not wrong, right? And so we get up there, and I talk to EJ for a little bit. And this is my first time actually interacting with some of the players, because there's a little bit of wait time. And I said, hey, the lights are going to come on. Let's give them a show. And he's like, oh, yeah, absolutely. So we start going, and I was talking with Tim, and Tim's all, tempo. You can sometimes even hear it on the camera. He's like, just keep your tempo, because if I can keep a good tempo and I'm not really fidgety, because sometimes I get that way, I have a tendency to bowling really well. So I go up there, and right before I throw a shot, I look back at him and I said, the only way I'm going to beat EJ is if I shoot 900. That is the only way I'm going to beat him. And so we're going, and I go front 9 against him. And then EJ goes, I forgot what he did in the game. He did something like he kind of spared, or maybe he went opener. And I shot 79 because I wrapped 10 the first shot in the 10th and struck. And I was all like, all right, not bad, still on pace. And then I look back at him. He's like, come on, just keep your tempo going. I said, sure, I'm good. And I go front 9 again. And EJ just kind of looks over and was just like, I can't win. There's not much that I can do, because I think I rolled like a 2-pin and tripped a 4 to get to the 9th one. And I was like, all right, let's get up there, keep going. And I go 3 flush in the 10th for 300. So not only do I go 579 to start against EJ, and EJ is down by 140 something pins. And you still don't think, oh, I got this. Because just as easy as it is to shoot 300 at that tournament, you can shoot 120 or 130. And I will still bet that EJ will shoot 300 if I shoot 130. And then guess what? I lose with a 579 start. And so instead of me really honing in to trying to beat him in that match, it was just stay clean. And you have another person after this who's just as good. And I was like, all right, after EJ, it was Sam. And Sam's match was the most important, because if I win that match, I'm on the show. And so I was like, all right. And Sam loves to play defense in bowling. He wants to be able to set up the lanes to where he shuts you out and he can get in and start doing Sam things. And I was like, all right, well, I'm feeling pretty good. So whatever you're going to do, I'm going to try to compensate that. And sure enough, I go 79 against him to start. And then he goes, 220. But still, again, it's not, when it comes to the Masters, and especially a 3-game set, you cannot say, oh, I bowled well this first game, the next 2 games are going to be great. And so I end up going 270, 220, and I'm turning 500. And he's still within, 50 or 60 pins for me. And I just followed through with the match, stayed calm, didn't struggle, didn't try to put myself in harm's way. And the lanes get tricky, especially when everybody's trying to win. They're going to pull everything out in the book. And when I finally got that win with him, they were like, congrats, you're on the show. You're on the show. And I was like, what? And I was like, and take a break, go and do whatever you're going to do. So I called my sister, who now lives out here in New Mexico. And I said, hey, and she works at night, so she was asleep during that time. And I said, I just want to let you know, I made the show for the Masters. And she's like, what? I was like, I made the show for the Masters. And she's like, wait, like bowling? And I was like, yes, Caprice, this is what I did. And she's like, oh my God. She's like, when is the show? And I told her the day of the shows and stuff like that. Called my dad, let him know. And he's like, oh, I gotta figure out how I'm gonna get out there, what I'm gonna do. And I was like, that's fine. I gotta do one more match to figure out if I'm gonna be the first seed or the second seed. And when I got to that match against Dombrowski, I had to tell myself, okay, Deeron, you still have unfinished business. Yes, you're on the show, but being second is a whole lot different than being first, because with first, you're guaranteed second. With second, you can you're guaranteed at least third. So I got myself back in action again, had to, shake off the jitters, because it's like, oh my God, I'm on the show. What am I going to do? How am I going to do this? What's going to happen? And then I got the match against him. And after that, they're like, your number 1 seed at the Masters. How does it feel? And it's like, well, now this is the third set of this tournament. This is now the real tournament begins, going out on TV, on live TV, against the best players who do this game currently. And obviously, to see that Belmo makes his way onto the show, and I'm like, so I went through Simo and then EJ, and now Belmo has a chance of coming to me. So I would have had to go against all 3 of them in the match, and I was excited about it. Obviously, extremely nervous. I know, Brad, you were on the Master Show in 21 or 22?
22? Was it 2 years ago now?
Was it 2 years ago? I know it was at Gold Coast.
Yeah, I think it was 2 years ago.
And so it was just controlling the nerves. And I kept telling myself, because we got that, we get that day break in between, we're done bowling and then the show. I told myself, pretend like you have been on a show before. not The Price is Right, but pretend like you have been on a show before. Pretend like you've done this before. That it's completely, it's like human nature. You know, EJ and Simo and Belmo, they live on the show. Even Kyle basically makes his appearance every year. You know, like you guys are on the show, and I'm like, just put yourself in that mindset. Remember, oh, that's right, and you got third, and somebody said, yeah, third in 2023. So you guys all know. So, so it's like, you guys, you get it and you see it, and it's like, all right, like let's go and do it. And sure enough, the day of the show comes, and the biggest thing that I can tell everybody that I did the day of the show was I looked at myself in the mirror after I was done getting ready, figuring out, okay, this is what I'm going to wear, this is what I'm going to look like, let's make sure everything looks good, and said, Deeron, regardless of what happens, are you ready to change your life? That is exactly what I told myself. I said, this is a life-changing moment. Take it for what it is. Take it for how it is. Have fun, because this is why you are a part of the PBA. This is why you're out here bowling. It's for this moment. And as I was getting myself situated and set up, a buddy of mine, Ray, had told me, he's like, you know what, Deeron, think about it this way. This isn't a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. This is a first of a lifetime opportunity. Because how many times can you say, I made the Master Show for my first time on television as number 1 seed, being your first, and being able to do that and to capitalize on it just basically was the cherry on top. It was, I did this, you know, and now I can keep on moving forward. As you know, I was telling you guys before, why I was just so happy to be able to do this was because I had a career after this, and you know, it was so great. I just, there was so much that led up to it, and all the support from everybody, even with you guys when I hung out with you guys in Detroit, which was really fun. Like, we got to try to do stuff like that again.
Yeah.
You know, and it was just being able to go out there and bowl the World Series and still talk to people, sign autographs, and then being able to see yourself at the TOC. I crossed with Kyle. I bowled terrible, but it's okay. I pulled so bad. And it wasn't even like I was throwing it bad. I had zero ball reaction. It was just so frustrating. But anyways, and just like I said, now it's just good because I can do more, and I can be a part of more, and I give myself more chances and more opportunities, and you know, to still extend the friendship that I have with you guys and some of the other people out there on tour, because it's a whole new different world. You know, we got to stick together with our small group. We got to root each other on, because it's like this, you know, one of us succeeds, we all succeed. And I feel like even with Brad, you know, fingers crossed, still going up there for an eagle, it's to be like, it's another eagle in the group, you know, like it's stuff like that that I want. And then, you know, same thing with Kyle, and just being out there and giving him a run while I can is also the best thing as well.
Yeah, well, it definitely legitimizes you, right? Just to have these accomplishments, even if, you know, things can go bad just because of injury. You know, you never know when your last shot's going to be. So just getting it done and knowing that, like, that happened, and then for the rest of your life, you're going to be labeled as a major champion.
Yeah.
If you want to get into coaching, like literally what a pro shop, whatever business in bowling, you achieve the highest accomplishment. You know, you have that for the rest of your life. It's crazy.
Yeah, D, you talked about, you know, you woke up that morning and you said, are you ready for your life to be changed? So how has the Masters changed your life? Take us into what's kind of changed, maybe what's not changed, like after becoming a major champion, you know, how does it feel?
Well, you guys, you know what? It was a lot of travel up until, I mean, still a lot of travel. Doing things with TMBA, working with some other groups, some youth groups, and just talking and speaking and kind of giving my story a little bit. It's just been a lot of travel. And when I come back home, still being the manager of a pro shop and working with people's equipment, you know, I'm not trying to put that on the back burner. I'm still going to work. I'm still helping people achieve their goals as well. And so it's just been really busy. And I'm hoping within the next month or two, things are going to slow down a little bit, both with the shop and with so much travel. And I can focus on myself. You know, both of you guys are so big on health and fitness. And, you know, I want to be able to do that too. Traveling a lot. You're not necessarily eating the greatest. You're not necessarily in the best environments, both physically and mentally. And you just gotta, I'm getting all of this done, and I want to show everybody that I appreciate all of their support. That, if you need me to be there, I'll be there. It was so cool being at Bowl Expo as one of the professionals there, and being able to talk from a pro shop perspective and a professional bowling perspective and putting them both together. Because at Bowl Expo, we're there, we're talking about the equipment, how it works, and I'm able to add that extra thing by saying, this is how the ball could work for you, your style of bowling, what the numbers mean, the AI core technology, stuff like that. I was able to really explain to people at Bowl Expo, which was awesome. Like, I love that. I thought that was, it was like right in my wheelhouse. And then now it's, bowling a couple of regionals, still trying to stay sharp, trying to get as much practice in as I can, because before we know it, the national tour is going to start back up again. And then we're going to have to start figuring out where we're going to go, what we're going to do, how we're going to do it. But it's doing all of this, but still giving myself some time to be myself, to just kind of relax. It's been a whirlwind ever since then, but I wouldn't have it any other way to you guys. I really, truly wouldn't have it any other way. This is what I wanted. I wanted people to know me. I wanted my name down in history. I wanted my name on a poster. I wanted my face on a poster if I could do that. And I was able to do that. And so with that responsibility comes a lot of work and effort, as well as still holding down a full-time job, trying to make sure everybody else is still doing what it is that they want to do, and that they still count on me for being there to get their equipment set up, get coaching, you name it. I've had people come from different states to New Mexico as they were driving through for nationals or whatever, just to say hi and just to say, that was so great. It was so awesome to watch. And we love that. Even if it wasn't a win or not, I would hope people would still have the same respect. But winning and coming in second, there's still a big difference between that, regardless of what we say. And but to be able to have that moment happen, you guys, was it. And everything that's going with it. Yeah, I'm a little tired, but I mean, this is what happens. It happens when you're a major champion and people want you to be around.
Yeah, especially, when you're growing up and you kind of realize the lifestyle of bowling, and it's kind of weekend stuff and hit or miss there. And sometimes it can be hard to stay busy in terms of like bowling and just for yourself. And that's got to be one of the best feelings, going from trying to figure out how you're going to fit in to this world, or this bowling world, trying to figure out how you're going to get value, trying to figure out how you're going to expand in those ranges. And then it happens. It's like, wow, now I'm busy.
Yeah.
And it's like, now I get all the work I want. I can kind of put together whatever I want based on my name, just based on who I am. That's one of the best feelings.
It really is. And, I mean, you knocked it right on the head. It's, what am I going to do? And now it's like, oh boy, like, look at all the stuff that I can do.
Yeah.
And it's so great. I was able to do a clinic in California. Everybody loved it. Some people want me to do them all back east, but it's like trying to balance the time to be able to make that happen, to go to Chicago and New York and Virginia and to talk with them. And because I have, like I said, I have that pro shop background for the last 10 years of experience while going out and bowling on the national tour. And even from that win, it wasn't like, hey, Deeron, everything that you're doing is correct at this moment. I've already made some changes to my equipment and to my game after that, because I looked at the show finally and I was like, okay, yeah, I could have done it a whole lot better. And now it's just making those improvements, which we always have to do. We have to work twice as hard in order to stay the same every year, because there's always going to be that person who is going to come up out of nowhere and start doing things. I mean, look at David Kroll. I mean, he won twice this year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it's just, everybody's putting in the hard work. Everybody's putting in that dedication. And I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, because I'm traveling and all that, I'm not going to be able to put the time in. I'm like, even if I'm out on the lanes for 45 minutes, that's better than not being on the lanes at all. And even if I give myself, a solid 15 minutes of solitude where I'm not talking to anybody or doing anything to kind of keep my mental health in check, I can do that as well. Everybody likes to talk about, a time. And I even had people ask me, like, how do you have the time? And I said, well, I just make the time. I still make sure to take care of whatever I need to take care of here at home. Then I make sure to go out there and bowl, make sure I'm still going out there and making some money in the other avenues and stuff that I do. So, I just say, okay, well, what time is it? Oh, all right. Well, I got to do this now. And just kind of it keeps you sharp, both mentally and being able to bowl under different conditions. We're never in a perfect condition, a perfect state all the time, but You guys can agree with me on that, right?
Yeah.
And so if you're able to bowl when you're slightly not feeling well, or you're recovering from an injury, that's a big part of it. Being able to overcome these adversities when you're out there bowling, and being tired is one of them. Sometimes we don't get done until a certain time, and you get 7 hours of sleep, and you got to be at the bowling center at this time to go back out and bowl again. Sometimes you have to condition yourself for that, to see, okay, I just worked for 8 hours, or I just did this for 10 hours. How do I feel if I throw a ball right now? Like, can I do that? Because you may come across a situation where you're exhausted because of whatever happens, and you still got to be able to overcome that, and not use it as, oh, well, so it happened, I couldn't do it. It's like, well, my opponent doesn't care what happened, because if they see that I'm down, or if they see that I'm not as strong as I am, they're going to take advantage of it. And so I never try to put that into perspective at all. I just say, hey, you guys, I'm going to give it all I got. Even if I've only been running on 30 minutes of sleep, I'm going to give it all,
Yeah. Yeah. When that run you made at the Masters, I look back, and we've bowled against you, I don't know, probably since probably you and Kyle bowled against each other a little more, but
it was
14, 15,
right when
16.
Kyle, God, you were in college. I remember you were in college and you were throwing Brunswick equipment. I definitely remember that. And that was over 10 years ago.
And even at that point, your physical game has always been really, really solid. Even on the bad days, even on the good days, it doesn't matter. You don't seem to fall off a whole lot of shots, and you don't seem to really have like these basic errors that is really just foundational work. And when I see you go on a run at the Masters where you're 579 for 2, you're just dialed in, you're lacing them, you can stay in this mindset and just trust what you're doing. I feel like that ties back into the foundational work you did as a kid, particularly just your physical game. And it doesn't necessarily translate a whole lot as much on the PBA tour, because the PBA tour is just, the patterns are different. It's all ball motion. It's all like big angle. But on a pattern like the Masters, where it's just, a lot of shot making, especially in the matches, I look at your physical game, and it makes sense. Like the fact that you could really run over a tournament like that on a pretty precision pattern. I look at your physical game, and I'm like, yeah, that's what it takes to post 579. You have to be able to post your shots, every single one. And when the nerves come in, you still have to be able to post your shots. And you did that really well.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's just trying to get better. And I looked over for many years now. I can tell you guys, it was David Ozio is one guy that I love watching, Parker Bone. They're fantastic at, making sure that they never, I don't think David Ozio's ever fallen off a shot ever.
So you idolize that guy in his physical game? Did you try?
I love his physical game. And, I used to have a little bit of a higher backswing. Now it's a little bit lower, but again, having a high backswing really doesn't, benefit you having a low backswing, because Nick Pate doesn't even really have much of a backswing at all either, And so when I get a lot of the questions on your physical game and how are you going to keep your physical game up against someone like EJ or the two-handed players, and I said, it's all about ball motion. If I can get my balls to go through the pins the way that theirs can, I can do it. And that's what I specialize in a little bit, especially when I'm coaching and working with people, is let's figure out what the ball is doing. And like you had touched on, Brad, the national tour, the ball motion is so different. And to be fair, and I told this to everybody, I have only bowled 2 national tour events. We're not counting the PTQs. I bowled 2 national tour events before winning the Masters in 2 years. That's it.
Wow.
So yeah, I'm going to finish in the bottom 10 because I don't see it that way yet, especially at the World Series, especially at the TLC, which were 2 majors right after that. So I went major. Well, the World Series, which still had a major in it, and then the TLC. So, you can't go somewhere you've never been. And because I did not see the ball motion the way that Kyle was seeing it, and I was bowling with him, and I'm like, God, what am I doing? How come I'm not seeing that? And I come back home and I look back on it, and I'm like, I can see why he bowled this well. Mm-hmm. Then I can translate that in for the next events. And bowling regionals and bowling on the national tour is night and day. It's not the same. And I talked to AJ Johnson about it, and he's all like, you can't even go to a regional and practice for the national tour because it's just so different. Different oil machines, different people, different environment, different everything. And I said, yeah, so you just bowl a regional just to get the reps in. And try to add a couple more credentials to your list of credentials is what you do with the regional these days now, because it's so different. But on the national tour, that's what I've been gearing up for, is creating, these really steep angles and getting my ball to go through the pins really well, which is why, like, at nationals, I was sliding 40, getting it to about 7-8 down lane, and I was able to get the ball to come back. And I said, that's a product of bowling on the national tour, where you're never sliding right at 30. You're always this way, and then you're going that way. And so, it's just one of those things. And like I said, physical game, I'm always going to do the best I can to improve on it year after year. And now that I have a full season of being able to go out there and bowl, I can learn. I can really learn. And I'm not going to be mad or frustrated, because this is now my first year as a professional bowler, is how I look at it. This is my first year. And if I can go out there, take the information from tournament to tournament to tournament. And when Sean Ryan was our rep, I told him, I said, I'm making an improvement every time I bowl, but I got to bowl more to make that improvement a little bit faster, if that makes sense. And now that I can go out and bowl the entire swing, the entire event, the entire season, now I'm looking at it and I'm excited, because, all right, if I don't have it, I can have it at the next one. I can keep on going. I can keep on going. I can keep on going. It's never going to be if I don't make it out of this and I can't bowl. I'm bowling, and I'm doing it for everybody. And I will, still show my support for those who are still having to go through the battle of the PTQs and stuff like that, to be like, look, I'm here for moral support. And the person, people will tell me, oh, well, how does it feel to not have to do that anymore? And I'm like, I'm ecstatic, but I still feel for the people that have to go through it and do it, because I was there. And again, the first events this year, I missed a total combined by 33 pins in the first 3 events. 33 pins I missed for all 3 of them combined, and never missed a makeable spare. I'm going to tell you guys that. Wow. I never missed a makeable, and I missed the first 3 events combined by 33 pins. So,
yeah, that's brutal.
Yeah, exactly. And then, the Masters is where I missed a 9-pin, but I was like, whatever. But what I'm saying is, I didn't miss a makeable spare until I bowled the Masters and I whiffed a 9-pin. But it's like I'm saying, and to everybody that, that watches, and for those that are going out for the tour trials and all that, you guys have my support. And I told this to Eric Jones and Dio, and this is before Dio had won. I said, I would rather bowl you guys for a title on TV than to watch you guys suffer through the PTQs, is what I told them, because I get it, and it's not a fair thing. And I understand and I get it, but these guys are, especially you two, mostly, are immensely talented. So give you a shot, give you a chance. I mean, Brad was the same way at the TLC. His story at the TLC was amazing, and I was like, "Come on, Brad, come on!" I mean, I'm on a plane heading back home, because I'm not trying to be out anymore than I have, but I'm just like, "Come on, bro! Like, let's go! Like, I did it. You can do it too. You can do it too."
I know.
And like I said, it's stuff like that that makes me enjoy bowling, because not only do I get to know you guys on a personal level, but we all go through and have went through and will always go through the same struggle of going out here and bowling and trying to be the best that we can be. And so, for the tour trials that's coming up, for those that are bowling it, I wish you guys all the best of luck. I want to see you on the lanes. I want to see you at your fullest and highest potential, because that's what we're all out there for. We're out there to win, but we're out there to be the best and to beat the best. And so that's kind of me. That's my mentality. I'm out there to be the best now, and I will still be like, hey, good bowling. You want to go get something to eat? So
yeah, well, we love that about you, man. I mean, we need, and most bowlers, they want to feel like they're doing something. They want to feel important. They want to just chase their dream.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
You just give them that opportunity. They're going to take full advantage of it. They're going to do what they can. They're going to run clinics. They're going to show up. So yeah, man, I'm proud of you and happy for you.
I really appreciate it, you guys. It's an honor to be with you guys and be able to talk with you a little bit about it. I know, like I said, with all the travel and stuff, it's a little tough to be able to do that, but you guys, I really appreciate it, and I hope some of the things that I've said, for everyone that's going to be listening, inspires them a little bit, and to be you. And I tell this, and I can end on this quote. No one's going to remember what you've done in bowling. They're going to remember who you are as a person.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my thing. I'm going to go out there. If I finish in dead last, I'm still going to be the same person. I'll be a little bitter, but I'm still going to be the same person. If I go out there and win another major next year, still going to be the same person, because I can't be anybody other than who I am.
Yeah.
And that's just what it is. And still try to show support to my fellow teammates or my fellow competitors, because, that's what it is. We got to stick together in bowling, regardless of what we say and what we do. It's so small. The community is so small, and we just want to make sure everybody's being successful, because different levels of success that come out are going to show different walks of life. It's going to help grow the sport. And that's all we talk about, is growing the sport. And so, to finish off and by saying that, and I hate I'm going to use this in a very good way. The working class demographic and the African-American demographic, it's really nice for me to be out here to give those guys hope as well. And those who are still working regular jobs and only can bowl an event every once in a while, I'm like, you know what? You never know what's going to happen in that one event that you're able to do when you're able to take off work or use PTO or whatever to be able to make that happen. And if you're able to make that happen, go ahead and do it. Give yourself that chance. I had one small little chance to bowl on the national tour, the smallest one that you get, because you get one tournament a year where everybody can bowl, and whoever wins that can keep on going. You get one. And, thankfully for 2024, I was the guy who was able to take advantage of that chance to make it through that door. And then now it's just, all sunshine and rainbows, I guess, for right now, until we start bowling out there.
Until we start bowling.
Yeah, right. It starts all over.
It starts all over again. It's sunshine, and all of a sudden you start seeing thunderclouds rocking. And it's like, oh, national tour is coming.
Almost feared.
So
what do you have coming up?
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Are you bowling anything like immediately?
Yeah, I'm going to be at the Lucy. Are you guys going?
Yep. We'll see you
all
there,
right. Then we can try to get together for some food. I have family that live out there in Houston, so I'm able to stay with them, and I haven't seen them in about 10 years. So it's going to be really nice to meet up with them. But other than that, whatever you guys want to do, I'm in.
Let's do it.
Appreciate it, brother. All right, man. Thanks for joining us. Congrats on everything. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. And all the best to you, Brad. I'll be sending you text messages as watching. So
I'm going to have to check right now, actually.
I know. Okay. I'll talk to you guys later.
All right,
bro.
All right. Bye.
What a guy.
What a guy, man. Just, Deeron hit on so many good notes there. The fact that if you just have an opportunity, you got to take it. And Deeron proves that. What I think is really cool about Deeron winning is it really, and we talk about this with our coaching and stuff, it really affirms that, in the game where everyone is so obsessed with the rev rate, Deeron's a lower rev rate guy. Still the most important thing to do is become a good bowler. And, you guys talked about that, posting shots, repeating shots, understanding ball motion, understanding lane play. And then once you figure it out, being able to just do it over and over and make adjustments. And, that's how, Deeron didn't win the Masters by overpowering the lanes. He just did it by bowling really, really well, which, I just think it's something that gets undervalued in today's game. Everyone's trying to learn the yo-yo release, and everyone's trying to do all this and get as many revs, which is great. But, learning the other tricks that we talk about, adjusting ball speeds, learning how to manage transition, where to start on the fresh, making sure your balls are drilled correctly. Like, all this stuff is so important to becoming a good bowler. There's a lot of guys with a lot of rev rate out there that aren't, the best bowlers on the PBA tour. And I think people get confused of seeing a guy like EJ Tackett and thinking, oh, he's that good because of his rev rate. It's like, no, man, that dude is just an amazing bowler. At the TOC, he had like a torn or at the, the end of the player or the World Series of Bowling, one of them, he had a hurt bicep and his rev rate was down like 50 or 60, 70 RPMs, it looked like, and he still beat everybody. So he's just just bowling good, putting a premium on being a good bowler. And
we live in that world, so we see it. We see these kinds of performances a lot when we see guys like EJ and whoever put on these incredible performances. It doesn't strike us as like crazy because we see it quite often. But when you see like Deeron put in a performance like that, you think back to like how long it took him to get to that point. I mean, just years and years and years of grinding. And then he puts on this amazing performance, and it probably doesn't get the weight it should. His 579, first two against the number one player in the world, probably doesn't get the weight it should. But the weight that it deserves is like 10, 15 years of just practice, grind, crying, travel, make mistakes until it just pops up, and now you're like unbeatable for the week or for the month or whatever. But it's just the way the game is. It's that right there is why it's a special game, because these performances don't just happen. It looks like they just happen, but just like with any sport, you see a basketball player go up for their first game for 50 or something, 50 points. It's like, yeah, he might average 25 and be great and all that stuff, but if you look back to where from high school to college to all the little tiny things that had to have happened to get him to that point, is just awesome. And we've seen Deeron for years come out to team trials. I mean, the year he missed practice and just shoots 300 right out the gate. Like, how do you do that on a brutally hard pattern? But all that stuff is just years and years in the making. And that's why it's a special game.
Yeah. So, Brad, what do we have coming up next? We have the Lucy in not this weekend, but next weekend, flying out to the Lucy. We're on our grind. We're bowling some tournaments. We're going to try to go to Jonesboro as well. We are in grind mode, trying to bowl and then also getting the bald eagle ready for these tour trials, baby.
Yeah, so we got Lucy, and then 3 days after the Lucy is that tournament in Jonesboro. Yeah. And then directly after Jonesboro is going to be the 11th frame in Iowa that next weekend. And then directly from the 11th frame in Iowa, we're going straight to tour trials. So the next month is pure grind mode to try and get ready for this tour trials. Tour trials is 4 days, 48 games, places 44th through like 150th. Basically, there's a bunch of like college players and foreigners and stuff, but mostly just the people outside of the cut on the national tour. And it's going to be hard. It's going to be the hardest, regional you ever bowl and longest one. And, top 12 get exempt status, which is free entry fees and to all the events. So there's going to be a lot of people there just hoping for what Deeron was kind of going through, of just having this dream of being on tour. So we'll be there with those guys. A lot of college kids, I'm assuming I'm going to see. A lot of two-handers I'm going to see. A lot of two-handers we've never seen before. A lot of bowlers we've never seen before. So it'll be fun. We'll all be there videoing. And, that's the important one. So I don't know. Maybe we'll just go to Jonesboro and just win that bad boy.
That'd be nice. It'd be sick. It'd be cool. Well, it wasn't exactly Jonesboro is kind of far away from me now, so I wasn't thinking about bowling. But then I was like, man, bowling a trios tournament, making that cut, bowling some Baker with a couple random people, like that would be a fun match play to make
for a title.
Thinking about it, yeah. I think it's a title. We got to get confirmation.
Yeah, it might not be a title.
I don't know if it's going to be a title or not. I hope it is. But yeah. So anyway, guys, we appreciate you guys watching today. Make sure you guys like, subscribe. We got some cool things coming up, so make sure you guys just follow us on all our social medias. And we'll catch you in the next episode.
All righty, guys. Appreciate you hanging out. We'll see.